The hypocrisy of the Conservatives just knows no bounds. Yesterday in Parliament, they raised an urgent question requesting an update on the ministerial rules around gifts. And it's like they're completely oblivious to their time in government, because they think Kay Burley at Sky News keeps banging on about free gifts. They claim it's a scandal. Problem is that everything's been given to them has been properly recorded. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think they should get them in the first place. They earn enough money. But it's not a scandal because they haven't broken any rules. While the Tories were in power, Boris Johnson accepted £50,000 in donations for a flat, free holidays, the use of millionaires' homes, all of which were not properly declared, so breaking the rules. Despite this, they continued to preach as if they were sanctimonious and virtuous on such matters. Ellie Reeves did an incredible job of holding them to account, and what more, it goes to show you the calibre of the government, because they don't have to. The current rules state that ministers do not have to declare gifts and donations in the same way that backbench MPs do. And now they're in government, they're changing the rules so that everyone has to declare the same as everybody else. They didn't have to do that. They could have carried on the way the Tories did. But they haven't. And the Tories didn't change it in the 14 years that they were there.
On the steps of Downing Street on the 5th of July, the Prime Minister pledged to put country first and party second. Now, Labour ministers have now been beset by a series of scandals involving freebies. The Prime Minister has claimed that this was all a perfectly sensible arrangement. Does the Right Honourable Lady still believe this? What gifts and hospitality can ministers now accept? Can Cabinet Ministers continue to party in DJ booths in Ibiza? Will ministers be banned from taking junkets at the Oasis 25 tour? Or was it just Taylor Swift that was a handout too far?
This government is committed to rebuilding trust in politics. The Prime Minister has commissioned a new set of principles on gifts and hospitality, which will be published shortly. This will outlaw the Tory freebie loophole because this government is committed to being more upfront and open than our predecessors. But we will take no lectures from the party opposite on gifts and hospitality, standards in public life or trust in politics. Let me tell the Right Honourable Gentleman what shattered trust in politics: the behaviour of the Conservatives in their 14 years in power. Partying in Downing Street whilst the whole country sacrificed their freedom, handing lucrative COVID contracts to friends and donors, failing to expel MPs caught breaking the rules. That's the difference between this government and the last one. We are strengthening the rules. When Owen Paterson was found to have broken the rules, they tried to rip them up. And now the Conservatives want us to believe they care about trust in politics. Mr. Speaker, this is utterly shameless. And of course, it was not just Tory sleaze and scandal that has eroded trust. Just as corrosive has been the complete and utter failure of the Conservative politicians to keep the promises they made to the British people.
Can I just turn to the Right Honourable Gentleman who's asking this question and point out that he refused to vote for the Privileges Committee report into Boris Johnson, who lied to this House. How is that improving standards in political life? What a performance.
I must say I am startled to see Conservative MPs acting as if they're defenders of standards in public life. Under the last government, ministers were subject to less transparency than backbench MPs. We will never know the interests of some ministers who served under Liz Truss because their ministerial interests were never published. But I would say to the new government, if ministers do not treat restoring standards with the urgency that it deserves, then there'll be no sympathy for them from the public either.
Does the Minister not agree, though, that this is not just about transparency, it's about hypocrisy? And when my constituents are going, because of the Labour's scrapping of the winter fuel payments, are going to have to choose between heating their homes and clothing themselves, they can see the hypocrisy that the Prime Minister is getting tens of thousands of pounds for clothing and glasses. And when they have to decide whether to send their children to an independent SEND school because the party opposite are going to cut or add VAT to their school fees, while the Prime Minister can rent out tens of thousands of pounds flats for his children, they smell hypocrisy. When is the Prime Minister going to come and apologise for that? And when is he going to return all of that money?
That was terrible. No, he's a member.
Let me say something about hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is when people in Downing Street, including the former Prime Minister, were partying during lockdown, when my constituents and people up and down the country were making the greatest sacrifices, fathers not being at the birth of their children, people not being able to say goodbye to their loved ones. So I won't take lectures in hypocrisy from those on the benches opposite.
Now all we need to do is change the rules completely so they're not allowed to accept any kind of gifts. And that would stop pointless interviews like the one that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.